I would like to interview this producer that's selling $1,000 leases because all their price points are high from the post that Dame shared with me.
It could have been an accident. Like the person purchasing it could have thought it wasn't exclusive.
What's going down? It is the No Pain, No Gain, aka MEC reunion podcast. What's going down, everyone? I told you Dame would be back and Erinn would be back, and now they're both back at the same time, which is at the same Dame time, which is pretty impressive. And my cat is losing her mind in the background, so apologies for any cat-related noises. How are the two of you feeling? I know Erinn especially is in the middle of a move, so that can't be all that fun.
It's not that bad. I'm taking it in parts, so there's a lot of pressure. So that's cool. It's not that bad, but yeah, I'm glad that the gang is all back. I've been recording podcasts literally all week, so my voice is gone. Monday, I did 5 back to back, and then Tuesday, I woke up and could not speak. So yeah, I'm still recovering, but I'm doing good.
Wait, these were your podcast episodes, or you were a guest for 5 consecutive podcasts?
No, so I have a new podcast called the Winner Circle Podcast with one of the artists that I manage and her day-to-day manager, because the Winner Circle is what we call our group chat. So none of us, well, now only one of us lives in Atlanta. So it's just we have to get the episodes in when we can. So we batch record, and we're about to launch the series or the podcast. So we were trying to get to like 15 to 20 episodes before we launch, but we're at 10 and we're launching in a couple of weeks. So yeah.
And you guys record all in the same space? You guys won't do it remotely?
No, because we like to do it in the same space. I feel like it has a different type of feel and it looks really good. It's very uniform in the studio that we use. My artist label lets us use their podcasting studio, and they have like 6K Black Magics. So it just makes everything look super great.
Nice. Pain, did you get people assuming that something negative happened between us and that's why we're not doing the podcast anymore? Any comments like that to just...
No, but I usually tease out the future reunions. And then when they happen, I'm excited because there's a lot of anticipation built up.
Nice. Yeah, everything's good on my end. I just did an episode of Brandman Sean's No Labels Necessary podcast.
It was a dope episode.
About a week ago.
I gotta watch this. Yo, congrats. That's amazing. I love
that. Was in person too.
I gotta let Sean know that somebody said congrats. That means his platforms is starting to move.
Yeah, they're living, and they just interviewed Flyana Boss. I can't wait till they drop that. Like, yeah, that's
dropped that one already.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, it came out hella fast.
Oh, I gotta look at it. They were smart about that.
They came to LA and stayed for about 10 days and just shot a bunch of interviews. So yeah, they came here to the Two Lost office. For those that don't know, I'm the director of communications at Two Lost. If you don't know what Two Lost is, I got to plug it, Payne, my bad. So go to twolost.com, check us out. But yeah, I'm about to start releasing some of the interviews that I did with Two Lost artists and starting to get more active. I'm trying to think of like a cool, like big contest we can run to start spreading awareness and doing some outreach and community building. So yeah, everything is cool.
I'm not gonna lie, Two Lost sounds like a an emo rapper.
Yeah, I kind of like the name. It's grown on me. So yeah, things are going well. I'm back into a routine. Starting to feel productive. So yeah, what are we talking about today, Payne?
Well, I don't know if you recall, I told a story about an event I was at way back, and the promoter did not book security for this event. I don't know why. I do know why. I just don't want to talk about it because it was race motivated, and I don't want to give away too much information about the act because I almost saw a rapper die. And it was a disturbing sight, to say the least. And it was because somebody in the audience, well, one, there was no security to enforce how the crowd was interacting with the artist on stage. It was a group. And because of that, the audience was overstepping their boundaries. The artist reacted. Next thing you know, someone from the audience had thrown a hard object at the performer. Now, if there had been security, because it was a smaller venue, that would have gotten handled. But since there wasn't, the artist was struck, concussed, bleeding out the side of their heads, had to be rushed to the hospital. And this was serious. And so now you're seeing a lot of, I'm not saying that this is a new concept, throwing stuff at artists, but you're seeing huge artists, not just the indie rap dudes that I normally play with. You're seeing huge pop stars getting smacked in the head by objects thrown by their so-called fans. And it's damn near an epidemic. We talked about the Steve Lacy breaking the phone thing, which I support, because there have to be consequences for you throwing things at people. But then BB Rexa got hit. She was bleeding, could have lost her eye. Who else has been hit? I know Lotto got stuff thrown at her, and she did issue a threat. And I think, someone needs to act on that threat. Someone in the crowd. Like, why aren't you policing yourselves? You're all there to see this artist. If she gets hit in the head, it's over with. And I've also noticed too, it's a lot of women artists that are getting the objects thrown at them. There's probably something to that. I know you're all aware. What are the other cases of this happening?
I don't remember specifically. I personally don't understand it. A lot of times it's a phone, and these phones are expensive. So I don't understand, do you just got an extra phone that you throw? Or are you just taking your chances throwing your phone in hopes of the person picking it up, taking a picture and giving it back? Like, I don't understand the mindset of the audience these days of throwing things at somebody you paid to see perform. Like, I honestly don't get it. I don't have too many comments on this. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I think Maren Morris was hit recently. There was another country chick. I think it was her. It might have been another one, but I saw it. It was at a major country festival. And again, like you said, I'm so confused. It's like, aren't you a fan of this person? But I also do know stalkers tend to be fans, same like your sexual assaulters tend to be people you're related to, like more times than not. So I think maybe I just don't understand like the mental regression that it requires you to love and hate something so much at the same time, or what that looks like. I think it's a lot of mental instability. I also think the policing yourself thing is hard, because if somebody is standing just slightly behind me and they move real quick and I can't tell if it's them or somebody else, and then my thought is, especially as a woman, if you're already volatile enough to throw something at the person that you paid a lot of money to come see, my assumption is that you could get very violent with me. And as a woman, I'm not de-escalating something and putting myself in harm's way. I'll be honest about that, because the world is scary enough for us. I had a situation 2 nights ago that I was like, it's so wild living in the reality of being a woman, So I don't know about that. I do think that the men in that area should say something, but a lot of times it's men, and men seem to have a lot of trouble holding other men accountable. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I think it's a hard situation. I also think that a lot of times this is happening at festivals. So yes, you're coming to see that person, but you could just be casually interested in them, or you may not like them at all. So you're coming just to be an asshole, or maybe you came with your friends. I think there is, again, like you pointed out, a lot of misogyny involved. So I think that, in any case, it's like, anything could piss a man off about a woman, and he may just be like, fuck you, I'm gonna throw this beer bottle at you, whatever. So I don't know. It's very strange to me, but I do think that like the cycle of abuse in the world is strange. I think that standing in a hot field that tight is strange. I'm not doing it. Like claustrophobia, heat, concern for my well-being, all the things start to play into it. So I can't get inside the headspace. I just think that a lot of people lack basic human decency.
Yeah. It's probably obviously it's probably a number of different reasons. The phone stuff, I wouldn't think that if you throw a phone, like your intention is to hurt. Because I have seen some performers pick up the phone, take a selfie of themselves, and give it back. I think that's what the fans are hoping happens when they're throwing phones. Other objects, then it might be if you're throwing a bottle, obviously, then your intention is to harm that person.
Well, I also think, be an adult too and consider that one, the phone is hard as hell. Two, it's a big crowd. There's no way the artist sees who's throwing the phone. Three, if you get that selfie moment from the artist, who cares? And then like four, you're an adult. It's a stupid ass thing to do. And I was, of course, I learned of this from Instagram. R&Base, they were the ones that posted about the BB Rexa situation, at least, and some subsequent situations of women artists getting stuff thrown at them. But the comments, and what's scary to me is that what happened to the artist that I saw almost die was years ago, right? And he was hospitalized and will probably never come back to my city again. And I don't blame him, but that was one of those things that people were horrified by, seeing a person getting struck in the head like that. There were people who watched this video of BB Rexa getting struck in the head and were like, yeah, that's what happens. That's how it is. And there was one comment in particular, because the guy, and this is rare, the guy's name is Nicholas Melvana. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. He was arrested for striking her because she had injuries. It was an eye injury, potentially concussed. I mean, when you get hit in the eye with something that looks like this and is heavy, anything could happen. So he was arrested for assault because, the thing is, if you're driving down the street and you throw a bottle out of your car window and it hits a child and that child's injured, you may not have meant to hit the child, but that's what happens. You get in trouble for it. So he got in trouble, and this user named Tatted Shorty said, "Oh my God, guys, seriously," I have to read it in a stupid ass voice because this is a stupid ass person. "Oh my God, guys, seriously. He didn't actually mean to hit her in the face. She was just throwing." That doesn't even make sense. She was just throwing his phone up there. He was just, oh God. He was just throwing his phone up there to see if she would take it and do like a selfie video type thing like these artists do. I think him getting arrested is a bit excessive because, again, that was not something he plans to hit her in the face. And then, obviously, people were jumping on her stupid ass, and her follow-up comments were, they're just mad the phone hit the girl in the face and she had to get stitches. But again, it wasn't intentional. You throw the phone up to the stage, the celebrity sometimes grabs the phone, records the selfie. Like, bitch, that should not be a part of the expectation. And now it's to the point where when something bad like this happens, people are like, well, that's just how it is. And I did see a lot of comments like that saying, if you don't want to get hit in the face with some shit, don't go on stage. And it's like, this is where we are as a society with the artists that we pay to see. And, I even got to get out of that habit of talking about the artists we pay to see and emphasizing the fact that they're there to do a job. At the end of the day, these are human beings and you're throwing stuff at them. And not only are you supporting that they're getting assaulted by things while they're performing, but you're also shocked when there are consequences like, whoa, wait a minute, hold on. Yeah, I hit her in the face, Yeah, she's bleeding and cut up and had to cancel the rest of her performance. But don't you think I deserve to do that? Why would you? I'm being arrested. She should be arrested for being up on stage in cell phone range. That why I don't know what's going on with people. And this guy in particular is not 14, not 16, not 8. He's 27 years old. 27 years old is old enough to know not to throw stuff at people without expecting something bad to happen.
I thought you were going to say like 22, 23. And I was going to say like, yeah, Gen Z, they have like a different opinion on entitlement. But this is like extremely disconcerting to know a man that's that old. And again, it could be alcohol, it could be drugs. I don't know, like, because that could have impaired his judgment. But it makes me wonder this is what I'm saying. This is not a man bashing thing at all. I love men. I think y'all are incredible. I just think there is a lot of weirdness that's never addressed. But if he feels like this is okay, I wonder like what other things in his life that he's doing that are questionable that he just feels like are okay. And then people defending him. This is the demise of society where, you know, and I know that your Dame's generation is saying it about my generation, and now I'm saying it about the next one. But I'm just very concerned, like where things are heading in the public space, because it's so unsafe in so many ways. You know, like not just on the artist side, but on the fan side. When we look at things like Astroworld, again, recognizing that that was a freak accident, but like the insurance policies for live entertainment immediately shot up, right? And then we look at things like Ticketmaster and how abusive Ticketmaster is right now. Ticket fucking monster is what they are. And the way that scalping and the things that they're doing are taking place. And now we look at the safety of the artists and them not being safe on stage. It's like, I don't think the future of live music is what people believe it is. And I think that we have so many indicators showing that it's going to move in a very different direction.
I had that thought yesterday, actually. And then also, this is reminiscent of, in a way, the Christina Grimmie murder, where, you know, it was this young woman, older dude. In the case of BB Rexa, you know, she and the assailant are damn near the same age. She's in her early 30s. He's in his late 20s. But Christina Grimmie, I think it was an older guy. She's very young. He's her fan. He loves her. So in his mind, he's going to kill her. And he did. And when Nicholas was arrested, the 27-year-old who threw the phone at BB Rexa, and he is not a young looking 27-year-old, I'll tell you that much. He said, after he was caught, I thought she was looking in my direction. I was about 2 rows back, but instead of my phone landing right next to her, my phone hit her in the face. Oh, what a shock when you throw something up on stage and you're not a baseball star yourself. And then it's spinning. You're 27, dude. But, and I've read this in multiple sources. This is from NY Post, which is regrettable on my part, but you can find it in other sources that reported on this. According to a criminal complaint, Melvana said, I was trying to see if I could hit her with the phone at the end of the show because it would be funny. Now, I'm going to say, I feel like either of these options are terrible. And make him look like
both things.
That's what's being reported. That I think that once the eyes are on him, once it's a matter of official record, he gave the excuse that he meant to throw it on the stage. And then, because people who are guilty as hell always pile on the reasons, right? It's not just like if someone is late because they were just late, and you're like, what happened? Oh man, you should have seen it. So my shoes were messed up, and then the light, I got all red lights. Oh, and it was an accident. Oh, and then this dog ran out. It's just like, come on, man, just say you were late and take accountability. Stop lying. Because you know people are lying when they start piling on the excuses. So he starts piling on the excuses, and you'll love this excuse. A lawyer for Melvana grabbed onto the TikTok claim to explain his client's actions, saying during the hearing that it was due to an unfortunate trend. What he's referring to is this trend on TikTok of throwing stuff at people, which I don't believe exists. I don't think there's a trend on TikTok.
Can't be a defense.
Well, like, that's what they're doing.
Other people were doing it, so that's why I did it. I only have two other things to say about this. One, I know that like less kids are playing sports because of video games over the past 20 plus years. So I'd be concerned of anybody in that age group throwing anything because they can't throw. They're terrible. So I think kids need to get back into sports and learn how to actually throw things with accuracy. But the other thing is, the more important thing to learn from this for artists is to understand that like things can happen that weren't anticipated during your show, and you need to think about how you are going to handle those things, and you need to think about the environment that you're curating even before you get on stage, to have a good understanding of your fan base, a good understanding of the venue, so you can put the proper precautions in place, proper controls in place to mitigate the risk of this happening. But then two, if it does happen, kind of have a plan beforehand so that you don't fly off the rails and do something dumb yourself in response. And I think that's goes with like, experience on stage is super important. Because like I said, you never know what's going to happen on stage, whether it's somebody throwing something, whether it's your mic going out, whether you're outside and the weather starts turning bad. I just think you need to be able to have composure and know how to respond in all of these different situations. But put your kids back in Little League. The Little League I used to play in doesn't even exist anymore. You guys are terrible at throwing, at running. Softball.
And it'll help them with their cognitive responses. Do you know what I'm saying? Playing sports helps you reason with life. So you probably, if you could throw it on stage, won't at this point. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, put your kids back in sports, please. It helps them consider other people as well and become a team player. And then you think about what you're doing.
Yeah, I was playing in my softball league on Sunday, and they had this cat in right field. The other team had this cat in right field that I don't think ever has thrown a ball in his life. He was looking crazy out there. So he's the type.
Why did he want to play softball if he doesn't know how to throw?
I don't know. He probably just got pressured into it because it's a frat league, and maybe his fraternity doesn't have that many players, so maybe he was just available that day. Fast as shit. He can run, like he ran the bases, but man, throwing the ball, he looked crazy. So put your kids in sports, and hopefully they don't grow up to be weirdos throwing things at people on stages.
Well, yeah, and also raise them to, expressly raise them to not become weirdos throwing stuff on stage. I can't imagine what kinds of parents these guys have, especially at this. I mean, maybe they don't have parents, period, or if they do, something's going on. I find it hard to believe that this is just entirely happening in a vacuum. Speaking of vacuums, I don't want to think about vacuums. I need to clean my house. But Dame, you sent me a DM. You sent both of us a DM the other day, and I was shocked because it was a screenshot of a producer selling a beat for $1,000, which is, I'm like, great, cool. People sell exclusive beats all the time. But then you sent the message, $1,000 for a lease. I'm like, that wasn't a lease. Come on, Dame. There's no way he's charging $1,000 for a lease. And I said that right away. I was like, Dame got it wrong. And then something in me thought, well, wait a minute. Nah,
Must be
Dame
something
wouldn't
wrong.
just.
That's probably what you thought, right? You're like, wait a minute, Dame doesn't is not normally wrong. Let me
Dame
double
is
check.
not normally wrong. Yeah. So I went back and no, that was $1,000 Beat Lease. Someone paid $1,000 for a Beat Lease. And one, I'm like, damn, people are trying to haggle me for like $250 exclusives and they want buyouts. And this just makes me depressed about my life. But two, I've I've been talking a lot about how producers are mistreated, and like I'm not saying this guy is mistreating his audience simply because he was he's charging a higher price than most people. But I do wonder. I don't know. I wonder how the two of you feel because I have a theory.
One, I don't think this happens a lot. I don't think he's selling a lot of leases at 1,000. It could have been an accident. Like the person purchasing it could have thought it wasn't exclusive. It could have been an accident. He might have uploaded it and just put the wrong put the wrong category on it. I don't know, but I definitely don't think a lot of artists are paying $1,000 for a lease and know exactly what they're doing. Right. So, but if that is happening, I think great. I mean, you guys are creators are in a position where you can, you know, price things however you think they're worth, right? LaRussell does his, pay what you think it's worth. Um, and so people have different pricing strategies. And if he is getting that, I think that's amazing. But I do leave open the possibility that there is some miscommunication or accident that could have happened of why that purchase went through. You just don't know.
I think that if you can get it, get it. And I know that people disagree with that. I think there are ethics with it, but if he's getting, because if I'm not mistaken, he's landed a lot of major placements, right?
I don't think a lot of major, but I know he worked heavily with LaRussell. And I believe that he's gotten a placement here or there, but I don't think he's gotten a lot of major placements.
Got you.
Still an up and coming producer.
I think if people are willing to pay it, I say go for it. I don't really have a problem with pushing because now you know that people are willing to. Now, if he's making this the standard for every lease, I do think that like an exclusive, that would have been sick, but maybe he feels like his exclusives are worth $5K. So he put out, I think the wording for me was weird at first because I thought it wasn't exclusive. It was like, was it unlimited lease or something like that? But yeah, if you're an artist, I would never pay $1,000 for an unlimited lease because you could have an exclusive beat for cheaper. But if you love it that much, shout out to him. I think people should test the market. I think you should see where your floor is, where you feel like I feel comfortable enough getting paid for this. At this rate, I don't feel like I'm getting taken advantage of or losing out on anything. But I also think you should find your ceiling. Like, what are people willing to spend for me for certain things? So I don't think that there's an issue with it. I do think that, you have to survey your audience. But if he felt like this is my favorite beat and I'm unwilling to part with it for less than a certain price, so the best I can give you is 1,000 for an unlimited lease, then shout out to him for making it happen.
You're not gonna get that though I don't think you can get that consistently, right? Because I feel like you have to be a pretty new or uneducated artist to pay that, because you just don't have to. That's such an outlier from the norm, right? For a lease. So I think you can't be. I can't think of any artist that I know that's been in the game for a minute, that's experienced, that's doing well, that would pay that. Like I just don't. So I think it has to be an artist that maybe just started in their career, or maybe didn't understand the terms And there's a lot of those, so maybe you can sell, a lot of those type of leases. But I don't think it's anything that's sustainable for artists that have any type of experience in the music industry.
Well, that was my theory, that a lot of beat buyers don't know that an unlimited license is not an exclusive license. And as a matter of fact, I guess this is more.
It might be helpful just to explain it right here, Payne, just so that people listening that it might be confused.
Yeah. Well, if it's not an exclusive, then it's a non-exclusive, right? So the lease terms vary. Unlimited is obviously the best kind of lease because it's basically, it gives you the same commercial rights as the exclusive, so you can still use it in unlimited ways and profit from it on all platforms. But the exclusive license means you're the only one who can license it from that point on. That's why it's important to read the agreements. They're right there. I mean, if you use BeatStars or any of these other sites, I'm pretty sure. I know with BeatStars, you can preview the agreement right then and there, but a lot of people don't.
Yeah, people don't read, especially if it's like a contract. They'll just be like, okay, whatever. It's fine. It's on BeatStars.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and so what happens with me a lot of the times is someone will get, catch me on a great day and get an amazing deal on, a package deal for several unlimited leases. And they might end up paying, $15 each, something crazy when it's a really good deal. And then a month later, they email me livid, just cussing me out, typing in all caps. And I'm like, what's going on? I gave you a great deal. Yeah, but I seen they're still on your page. I'm like, yeah, they are. It was an unlimited license. Yeah, it's supposed to be exclusive. And I'm like, well, no, here's a screenshot of our conversation. Here are the terms. Here's the agreement that you agreed to. And then it's all right, usually. I mean, like, they can't really, because I don't misrepresent what I do. So if I do honest business, you would think the vast majority of people, even if they're not really aware of how that works, are not going to freak out. But the fact that there's that confusion makes me think, I think people just automatically assume a higher price tag means exclusivity. And then there's the question of what exclusivity means, because a lot of people who buy beats exclusively or just lease in general, it's like the same myth on either side of the coin. Well, if it's a lease, then I'm not paying royalties and you don't get equity. Well, if it's an exclusive, I'm definitely not paying royalties and there's no equity because I paid a higher price for it. So you don't get anything. It's mine 100%. So you see a lot of that. I would like to interview this producer that's selling $1,000 leases because all their price points are high from the post that Dame shared with me. All of them, all those price points are, their MP3 basic lease is higher than my all out unlimited, and their unlimited lease, the $1,000, is like honestly beyond what I expect from an unsigned artist shopping on my beat store would pay for an exclusive. But obviously they're selling unlimited non-exclusive licenses for $1,000 each. They are, and I want to know how they present that. I want to know what kind of clientele they've built up. I'll be honest, I don't think this is an effective approach, but I could be wrong based on what I've seen in this post Dame sent me. There are a lot of beat makers who make this comparison when they're like, well, I'm not trying to be Target. I'm not trying to be Walmart. I'm trying to be Louis V. I'm trying to be Gucci. And so I'm not charging you $10 for a t-shirt. I'm charging you $180 for a t-shirt. And they're applying that to their beat pricing. And I think, well, I mean, good luck, but that takes a lot of social proof to convince people that your product is worth that much when you have perfectly good producers selling for, one third of what you're charging. But then again, I don't know. I don't know what's happening in these conversations he's having with his clients. I don't know what kind of social proof he's giving them. I don't know what kind of hype he's building up for his product. And I think, if nothing else, it makes me think, damn, did I mess my business up by not charging that much? I don't know.
I think too, the social currency is what sells a lot of these beats. So if he's already working with somebody like Lil Russell and his fan base is used to paying, I would say in a lot of situations, a higher price point for things that other people don't necessarily value. If they see, oh, this is one of Lil Russell's guys, I'm willing to invest in that. You know, it could be something like that. It could be that he has a really loyal fan who's trying to get his attention. You know, I think there's a myriad of things. I do agree that, like Dame said, it's probably unsustainable. This is, you know, abnormal. It's not going to be something that happens regularly. But if he looks at it as, I just have to make this happen once a month versus selling, you know, 10 to 15 beats at $100 a piece, or, you know, the exclusives, whatever, I still think that it's fine. I feel the same way about my consultations. When I raised the price, obviously the amount of people I talked to dropped, but the quality of person went up, and I'm still making, I had a dry spell for a minute, but it's kind of picking back up, but I'm making the same, if not more, doing less work. And I think maybe that's like, I think that the value of your time, that he may be encountering that now, like, how do I value my time? What is it worth? What do I want to charge? And I think sometimes when you mentally get there, then the money comes. I'm experiencing that right now in my life, like doing way less work for way more money. Because mentally, I got out of the mentality that I had to keep hustling and finding all of these things. And it's like, once I got into a new environment, my value went up because it was people who had more money and understood what I was doing better. You know, so now I'm just like, okay, I've experienced that several times in my life, just leveling up. You know, oh, okay, people are willing to pay this for what I have to offer. Let me add on this, this, and this, so that when I go to my next level, they're willing to, you know what I'm saying? So I think maybe that's just, it's a case of him mentally being there and being able to attract, you know, the clientele that wants that. But again, an unlimited lease makes, and this is not a shot at him, but if you know business, it's like, I would rather pay 5 times that for an exclusive, or 10 times less than that for a lease. I'm not paying that much for a lease though. It's just, it doesn't make sense because you don't have the rights that you need to make the song do what it needs to do. And there's another 1,000 people that could get your song. So I wouldn't do a lease, but if this works for him, shout out to him. I think it's dope.
So should I change my price points is the question.
I would say you should try some higher prices, especially like, I don't know what you're charging for like unlimited leases or exclusives, but if you have a handful, especially because rodeo is going crazy, I cannot go anywhere without hearing you paying. So like,
oh really?
Paying. Cause you know, Flo Millie's from Atlanta, so we're in the Southeast, and it's like I'm hearing this song on commercials. Well, like YouTube commercials.
Okay.
Not
I was about to say, wait a minute.
So like YouTube commercials, I'm hearing every TikToker use it. I'm seeing it on Instagram, and it is getting radio play in Atlanta. It's like, I'll click to another station because I just got a new car and my aux thing wasn't working. So I've been listening to the radio for the last week back and forth in the Southeast. And it's like, I'm hearing rodeo back to back to back to back to back. So I think this is your time to try, like, what does it look like to put some of your exclusives on sale for maybe lower than you would get from a label, but higher than you normally sell on BeatStars? What does it look like to get it, to spend money on an exclusive lease? You know what I'm saying? I would try it out. You're hot right now.
That's crazy because it is top 10 on a media-based chart. And I looked at that, I was like, well, I don't really leave the house. But back when I did, I know I wasn't even leaving the house. People were just telling me, oh, I heard it at this dancer at this club is using it. This person over here is using it. When I went to, it's kind of crazy. I went to a middle school and I'm like, oh, you know, the rodeo challenge. Everyone knew it. And there were some college students there who were not student teaching, doing their practicum there. they all knew who it was, or they all knew that song. So I'm like, this is.
I think you should lean into promoting that you made that song. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, because I just looking at what it's doing in Atlanta right now, I feel like this song is going to be like the song of the summer, but they're still going to be playing it fall next year because how much is getting replayed right now. So I think you should lean into it heavily because the song is hitting. It's doing what it needs.
That's good advice. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, I mean, you got a shitload of beats. I mean, you don't have to put all of your beats at one price, right? Like you can experiment with different pricing, you know, with different beats that you feel are in higher demand or better quality. Yeah, I think all producers should just experiment with pricing and kind of see what makes the most sense for them.
Well, that's a great place to end this podcast. This is actionable advice. I feel like I just bought a consultation from Erinn, and somehow it only lasted a brief minute and a half, and I got a lot of information and tasks for myself. So one more thing from my list. So when is the podcast dropping, Erinn? How can people check out your Winner Circle podcast?
I have a whole producer for that podcast, so I have to ask her. I think it's dropping August 2nd or August 10th. I have to look. But yeah, you can, if you're following me on socials at the Erinn Affect, that's ERINNAFFECT. If you're following me, you'll see it posted about it. You'll see post about it. I also still have the How to Build Your Own Dreams podcast. We just started interviewing guests, so that's been really fun. So I would say just follow me. You can follow my journey. I have been vlogging, but it's been so hard, like moving, and then like I'm working with a really high demand human right now, which is great because I'm learning a ton. But sometimes I don't whip out my phone or my camera to vlog, but I would say subscribe to my YouTube. Lots more stuff coming there. I've been dealing with a lot of stuff over the last month and a half, lawsuits and all those things, but tap in with me. The journey is about to accelerate. So don't forget about Lil E. I think y'all are going to be excited to see all the things that are coming out from me.
You just call yourself Lil E?
That's what my friends call me.
Okay.
This is a good name. It sounds better than Lil P. No one better not call me that.
Sheesh.
All right. I'm excited for the future episodes. Hopefully we can get the game back together. At least, every other 2 or 3 episodes. And working on some guests, and shout out to everyone that's supporting the podcast. Shout out to everyone that, because the support is becoming more and more consistent. We are still posting on MEC. It's not like we've just jumped ship, so that's all still going on, and we thank you for checking that content out. Once again, appreciate all that, and a new episode will drop at the same time, same place next week, right here. Peace.